This DJNTV show is sponsored by DJ Event Planner, Electra Voice, DJ Trivia and DJ Bingo, ProX Direct, Odyssey Cases, Perfect Portals, Instant DJ Requests, and our DJNTV Insiders. This is John Young from DJNTV. Thanks for watching.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Monday night edition. We are back. We are here. We are ready for you. And Cubby and I are ready for baseball season.
Yes.
That's all that's to it. We said, you know what? They can play the Super Bowl. We're ready for baseball.
I was ready for baseball, a couple of weeks ago already. It was pretty much done.
Well, you're a Vikings fan. You should have been ready for baseball in
by
preseason.
week 3. Yeah, pretty much. That's especially when we can get a shortstop that's been passed over by 2 other teams. We're good. Yes.
Minnesota Vikings are the epitome of a middle school date. You just get so excited, and in the end, you get let down. You're just like,
yeah, we're gonna be great.
Middle school date. That was my prom. What are you talking about?
Well, he's
all we did was hold hands.
That'd be nice. So tonight, guys, I want to dig into the kind of the cocktail and dinner time, and we're going to be getting into the wedding season here coming up in a few weeks in some areas and a couple of months for other areas. And this is something that, as I've been kind of working with younger DJs, and that includes my boys, is that there's more to the cocktail and dinner that can be done than just having this thing on play type of thing. And I wanted to kind of just dig into a few things because I think that this is an area that's really, really overlooked. And when we're talking tonight, we're not going to really be discussing, because I don't do the weddings where it's a little music, a little dancing, and then they do a course of the meal and a little dancing course of the meal. Dan, I don't think, do you do? Yeah. So even in Dan's areas, and Cubby, of course, in the Midwest with me. So if you're in an area where you're doing a mix of dinner and dancing or courses and dancing, what we talk about tonight may not be as applicable to you. There might be some little things in there that would be interesting, but mostly that's an area in a direction we have. I mean, I've done 2 weddings in my 30 plus years of weddings that were that way. It just doesn't happen here. So first off, the cocktail time, when you're talking to couples, and this is going to be kind of more of a question and answer type of thing tonight, guys. When you're talking to couples, how often do you have couples that are like, hey, I want a certain genre played, or I want to have it done, here's a list of songs, and I want you to play from this list of songs. How often do you have couples that give you guidance on what they're looking for during that cocktail time? Not the dinner, just the cocktail time.
I'll go ahead and start.
Yeah, please.
In my consultations, I ask them what type of vibe are they looking for during their dinner and cocktail. Are they looking for sexy, classy, cool, like a Rat Pack, kind of a, like a 40s feel? Are they thinking more of acoustic? Like, I've got a great playlist, which is acoustic covers. Are they looking more of an upbeat kind of, like a 90s non-danceable, but kind of a, like a Maroon 5 type stuff, some stuff that's non-danceable. So in my consultations, so to answer your question, 20% have an opinion, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them, like, I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be out taking pictures, and I encourage them to do so. I'm like, your smiles are going to be bigger after the ceremony. You take that time together because you're going to be nervous at the ceremony. So all pictures pre-hand and just go out or just go decompress. Just you and your new husband just step away and just decompress for 30 to 45 minutes. It's nothing too long, but I do inquire, and I say 20% have an opinion.
Dan, what are your thoughts as far as, do you have couples that are wanting to have some input into that time frame?
I would say about once or twice a year, I get somebody that comes to me with an idea of what they want for their cocktails. As Cubby said, majority of the time, they're like, you know what? I'm not even going to really be there. That like it doesn't matter to me. Occasionally what I'll get is, um, uh, I think it might be somewhat how my system is set up for like requests. So I've got a spot where they can put like this type of request that they want. And so sometimes I'll have couples that will put stuff into cocktail. They'll put stuff into dinner, almost like they have an opinion about it, but it also feels like sometimes it's like, oh, well, we felt like we had to. No, I do very similar to what Cubby does. Like what's the vibe you're kind of going for? I don't even get into music vibe. Just what's the overall feeling that you're going for with your guests? And with so many of the venues being outdoors, if they hem and haw at all in that, I've got about 3 or 4 different styles that I immediately just kind of throw out as, based upon what you're kind of feeling and what you told me is going to be around the grounds and knowing these grounds. I'm kind of envisioning you wanting something probably like this. Oh yeah, that's it. And it's an acoustic vibe of some sort, some slight variation on that. But yeah, I feel like once or twice I get legitimate. Probably about another 3 to 4 times I get they put it in because they thought they had to, and everybody else, it's not until I ask them, do I get any input?
Sure. Yeah, and I think this is one of the areas when you're getting some requests that with the DJ event planner area, because you get those song requests, and there's some songs you look at and it's like, okay, that song is going to be that one will work on a dance floor, and it's like that one, maybe not, but it's too much for dinner, but it's not enough for the dance, and this is a great time to use that. And if you guys aren't using DJ Event Planner, you can go check it out. They're one of our sponsors here at DJNTV, DJEventPlanner.com. But yeah, this is for my last couple of weddings this past fall that really went through. Some couples do a nice job with the requests, and some couples, just do the basics, and then they're like, yeah, use your judgment. But a couple that really filled it out well had those songs, and it's like, they worked perfectly into that cocktail time, even though they weren't intending it to be there. They just wanted it to be sometime during the night. And that's really, I haven't had in a long time where somebody's said, I want this during the dinner time. Heck, half the time with the ceremony, it's like, and what would you like for like prelude music before, while the guests are being seated? And they're like, oh, do we need to play music during that? Oh, well, can you just play something? Well, yes. What direction would you like me to go? Would you like instrumental? Would you like some soft pop type ballads, or would you like some this or that? Yeah, whatever. Great, that's helpful.
So, John, I have a question. So, with regard to your request, and this is kind of a question that I'm curious about. Do you have it set up for the request categories? So, within Event Planner, you do have that option where they can drop music into. I want this for must plays. I want these for play of possibles. I want this for cocktail. I want this for dinner, and to where they can put it. Or do you just have one master list, if you will, where they just put any request, and then you kind of help push that in the right direction?
They can choose to tag, label them, put them in that type, and some do. Very seldom though. Most of the time, I just get it. The must plays and the play if possible, and then the don't plays. And ironically. We've all had this where the most common don't plays right now are some of the bigger songs that mom who only comes to one wedding a year. Those are the songs she wants to hear because she wants to dance to them because she doesn't get to any other weddings. And those are the don't. That's for another show.
So with my DJ event planner, I have 10 must plays because regardless of how crappy that it is, I'm going to play it, but only do 10 because I had to probably put like 50 must plays in there, and I'm not, But 10 must plays, I do 45 play possibles because if you time that out, that's about a 2-hour dance. I want to have some wiggle room, and I let them know, like when you order your cake from your baker, you tell them what flavor you want, but you don't tell them the ingredients. So same thing with me. I'm going to take what the flavor that you want, and then I'm going to put songs with it that might blend well with. I can look at your playlist and go, okay, this is going to go well with this. This is going to go well with this. But as far as separation, I don't have a separation of cocktail, dinner, dance. It's literally just 10 must plays, 45 plays of possibles, and do not plays.
Well, Cubby, that actually takes us the next direction I wanted to go is.
Well, can I ask you a question really quick?
Yeah, go ahead. I know
you're the question master.
I got the notes here, so I'm good.
Do you guys mix during dinner, or do you autoplay during dinner and set up your next stuff?
We'll get there. We'll get there. I know we're going to get there, right?
Oh, yes, my bad.
Yes, that is actually probably the next question.
I didn't get the questions.
Yeah, no, there isn't because it's Brian Red mentions that he likes to just have that excitement of just the so yeah, that's kind of
Okay.
but we'll get there.
Something I knew it was going to be in there. So,
programming the music for the cocktail time frame. Cubby, you were talking, of course, when you've got that list and different things and the flavor. How much do you pay attention to that? And that kind of will start to feed into your question also. But how intentional are you, or is there more of a randomness to the music that you pick to use during the cocktail hour?
I would love to tell you that I create a custom one each and every wedding, but I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I have 5 or 6 playlists that like I said, that are generalized. The Michael Bublé, Jack Johnson's kind of pop love, a little bit of old, a little bit of new, a little bit of everything that touches every genre, and it's just a great mix. Like I said, I also have the acoustics and some acoustic covers and things. And I'd love to tell you that I create one for each and every bride. I would if I had a Disney. I've had Disney brides that want nothing but Disney music.
Right.
So I've had to create some of those, but the volume of weddings that I do, and I'm not here to brag or whatever. I can't take every bride and just create a certain cocktail or playlist.
Yeah. Dan, what about yourself when it comes to programming that time frame? Are you intentional, or is it something that you have more off the cuff?
I was intentional when I was setting up the playlist that I created.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of going back to more of a radio type of play. I try and make sure that I'm not heavy on either guys or girls or groups all in a row. Try to avoid certain stipulations like that. Try and create an ebb and flow within the vibes, so that way there is some more that push that envelope of dancing without being dancing, some that pull back a little bit without being sleepy. And then if I'm given what I call a variety, like when I'm talking about the vibe with them and they give me the opportunity to do a variety, then I'm also looking at genres and making sure that my genres aren't the same genre for 4 or 5 songs. That at most I'm giving 3 within a particular genre, and even that I try to usually only do about 2. To really kind of ebb and flow within that. So I do a lot ahead of time, and then I have them all saved, because as Cubby said, I'm not creating something brand new. I've done the work ahead of time. I might tweak if I need to, or take something out and change because, like that song that I was going to put in that cocktail or have in that cocktail playlist is something that they really want to have as a special dance.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well then I'm definitely not going to play it twice. So I look around for those types of moments. But otherwise, yes, I do the programming ahead of time. And
I do a very similar thing. I have, I think, 3 different that I use. And I have gone through and set cue points to that, so we're skipping some of the whatever parts of it, that boring intro that doesn't do anything for us. But mine are heavy 70s, heavy 80s, a combination of 70s, and then one that goes 70s, 80s, and 90s are my main ones that I use from one or the other. And sometimes I will start in one, and I have set them up so I can start in the 70s and 80s, and then I can progress to the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And the songs at the beginning of the first half of the 70s and 80s are not in the first half of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So that if I start out in the 70s and 80s and figure, I should jump into this other one, I can bop to that one, and I can let that one play the rest of the night, so that those songs won't be duplicated within that beginning part. But yeah, it's all been put together in advance, and these are songs that have gone over really well in that area of cocktail and even into the dinner.
I'll also say I love the fact that in cocktail hour you can get away with stuff, right? Because I kind of picture this a lot like your restaurant background music, right? So like it's there, it's a listening conversation, but it's not it's not overpowering them. And if you've ever really listened to the music that is often played, that's chimed into a lot of your restaurants, it's stuff's like not necessarily all that recognizable. Some of the stuff is, obviously you get a lot of stuff that's very recognizable, and that's kind of the point. But every once in a while you kind of go, like that. I remember hearing that one time. I probably have that somewhere in my collection, but I don't remember necessarily using it. I've had that, or I've even had that sometimes where I've just been like flipping around on my radio in my car, and I'll like come across something. I'm like, oh, you know what? It might be new. Like it might be something new, and I can experiment, right? I can throw this into a cocktail. It's not going to kill a dance floor because I don't have a dance floor. It's not going to suddenly kill somebody's mood unless I just totally pick the wrong like lyrical content, maybe. But for the most part, it's a great opportunity to just kind of pick it, throw it in, and just kind of see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then before you know it, you might be working it into a regular set, especially if it's on the newer side.
So let's talk about mixing. Oops. I didn't. I hit that because that's where I was going to be going. The mixing, and those are my next two topics that I moved from the list over. Do you mix during that cocktail time, especially when you've got a standing cocktail event? Have you done mixing, or do you just let that playlist go? Cubby asked it, so Dan, you and I are going to answer it.
I guess so. I don't. I don't mix during cocktail. I don't mix during dinner. And part of that is part of it is because of me being a solo op and there by myself. Like I'm doing the setting up. I'm playing, running around doing different things. I'm tearing down the ceremony site. And I know I know there are DJs out there that create a pre-mixed mix for their cocktails so that way, that can be playing and they're still mixing while they're out doing dinner. And I agree 100% with those that say that it carries more energy, that it has the ability to keep that feeling going longer because there's not that fade out and fade in. And even if you set up the cue points, like John says, there's still that potential where it could go different. That is avoided by doing the mixing. I've just never taken the time to set it up, to do it and record it. And I'm, at least for a good chunk of it, I'm busy doing lots of things. So if I did mix, I'd be mixing for like half an hour, but I wouldn't mix for some and I'd mix for other. And I'm playing.
And my thought, the time I do it is not so much during the cocktail, but it would be towards the latter part of dinner. And I actually have before the dance, I have 10 songs that I commonly use before we get to the dance time that are the bridge songs that are starting to pick up the tempo a little bit. And in those, I will play those 10 songs, but I don't play the full version of any of those songs. It will get in, the first verse, chorus, and the second verse, and then out type of thing. And those, I think it goes 10. I think it's 10 songs, but it's 22 minutes. And the idea that I have behind that is that if I know, generally I'm about 20 minutes out, I have a pretty good idea of when we're going to be ready to start the dance, even if it's not on the scheduled time. It's just by where the floor is going to be, and it's a nice little time. My thought has been with that is that if the people are standing, if they're seated, then I want to have I want toe tapping, but I don't want to have as much high energy in the music programming during that time frame. If they're moving, or they're standing, they're having a cocktail, they're milling around, whatever, then I want to have something that's still toe tapping, high recognition, but I want that to be just a little bit more energy to the music. So towards the end of the dinner time, when people are up and moving around and such, I want to be able to bring the volume up and bring the energy up a little bit. And that last little group of songs has been very, very helpful.
Now, one question I'm going to ask to kind of throw, and this is kind of an offshoot of that, but John, you made me think of it. When you're coming out of dinner, what is the next thing that you do? What is typically the next event pattern, I guess we'll say, for your area coming out of dinner? Since
we really aren't doing, it would be the dinner, and then they would maybe serve cake, and then we'd move on to the spotlight dances. There's so many of the wedding traditions that I'm not doing anymore. Specifically, cake has not been a thing. It's really they finish eating, everyone has food and such, and maybe all done with it, whatever. But the last person through the buffet line, then we do the toast, and then there will be the thank you, and then the head table will get up and start working the room and shaking hands and whatever there, and then it progresses to half hour, 40 minutes later. They break down the tables on the dance floor, and then we're getting ready for the first dance.
Okay. I was kind of curious because you mentioned the spotlight dances. So where I'm at, that is very common. So to do these special dances coming out of dinner,
yeah,
cake and we're still cutting cake, but everybody else gets cupcakes. Like the couple will still cut their cake, but everybody else gets some variation of something else. But one of the things that I've often done is I do what I call prime the pump. So I'm getting that energy that you're talking about just without the mixing aspect of it. But sometimes I feel like it's all for naught because I get that going a little bit, and then we've got 10, 15 minutes of
downtime. Yeah.
Like slow music doing the spotlights or transitioning in and out of the spotlights, and it's almost like, did I prime them to do nothing with them? Like, did I just defeat what I was planning to attempt? So I was kind of curious about that. Okay. I digress.
And that's an area I've thought about as far as, because we are bringing the energy down, but there's time to get the crowd cheering for that and rounds of applause and things. So it's not, yes, it is kind of a bring the energy down, but really I've again, talking to the boys with this, is that I want them to basically get the room here, and then they're going to hopefully pay attention, but I want them to basically stay semi-flat during that time frame. And then when we come out, we can bring them up from there. It's not like you were able to take them to a 120 to 150 beat per minute, frenzy. It doesn't happen. But if you can bring them to a point, and then they can kind of hang on, and then we take off from there, instead of saying, "Wow, that's a really empty dance floor you got there," that type of thing.
Do you guys do any games prior to your spotlight dances? And I don't want to jump questions that you may have.
Yeah. No, that's something that was big a number of years ago. We would have sometimes there would be just a game during the dinner time. This is back when we're using the Survivor, the Wedding Party Survivor was very commonly used. But that we do something during that just time frame as a kind of a little novelty and to have some fun, even to the point of the wedding party introductions and doing the little stories with that. I kind of put into that same category where it was something where it was just more of a personalizing the dinner time. It wasn't just like everyone else's dinner, because if you're doing the Survivor thing, it's different each time because you have different people engaging and doing it and being silly. Those things have just kind of haven't been a thing since after COVID. I just haven't had requests. It's like, yeah, we can do this, we can do that. And they're like, yeah, no, we're good. The clinking of the glasses was another area that there were so many little games, whether it was trivia. And of course, you guys have all heard the singing of the word, or singing a song with the word love in it, telling a story, whatever it is. There have been a couple of things that we've had. Most of it has involved money and voting, where there's two jars and they're voting on something. One of them was a vacation spot. If they're going to go to the Bahamas, or if they were going to go to, she wanted to go to the Bahamas and he wanted to go to Canada fishing, and people would put money in it, and whichever side got the most was where they were going to go. I've had a few voting like that, but there just hasn't been the dinner, the interest in that. And I don't know if they've seen too much of it, and that's why people were like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that anymore. Or if it's just that they haven't seen it at all and just assume that it's a bad idea because no one's doing it.
Right.
Shoe game is about the extent of games that's happening during dinner, at least with mine. I've done a couple, with John, a couple of the trivia, a couple of the, different pieces to kisses and things of that nature. But it seems like the main one that gets kind of pushed around here or gets brought up around here is the shoe game. And usually I'll do that towards the end of dinner, prior to jumping into cake, prior to jumping into first dance or the spotlight dances, just because it's almost like a good fit, because I can kind of wrangle them away from the tables, because I'm like, hey, we're going to do something and we're going to do this and this and this. We're going to get this moving. Because sometimes if I don't, that's my biggest obstacle, is getting the couple away from the tables.
So I would always do if I was doing the shoe-wed game is what I call it, or words of wisdom, where you put 3x5 cards on every table.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do it right before the first dance, because my segue was, well, ladies and gentlemen, since we have them on the dance floor, let's keep them out there. And my shoe game is I use black and white flip-flops, so I'm not having to wait for them to put their shoes back on.
Nice.
Very smooth and nice transition. Well, ladies and gentlemen, since we have them on the dance floor, let's keep them out here. The song they chose is At Last by the James, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
And I figured that was a fairly nice transition into the first dance.
I've had a couple of opportunities where again, we used to have this list of all these different things that we could do during that cocktail and dinner time for activities. And I had a couple of opportunities where a person could have done something because say food was 10 minutes late. They're like, oh, you guys, we're not going to be ready at 6 o'clock. It'll be like 6:10. So don't introduce the wedding party right away. Didn't you just see I introduced the wedding party and they're to the head table? You said 6 o'clock. I talked to you 20 minutes ago and you said 6 o'clock. And now it's like 6:02 and grandma's doing the blessing. They're coming. Well, and it's those situations where a person had, those tools were there. And in the past, when I had couples who were like, yeah, if you need those tools, use them, go right ahead. And there were times we did that. I've got some generic trivia questions. And it's like, okay, everyone, before the dinner starts tonight, we're going to find out a little bit more about Bobby and Susie. Let's go. How many of you think that, between the two of them, Bobby's going, or one of them's going to do this? I don't remember what the questions are. It's been so long. But they were questions, and then you'd get the crowd to vote. And then the answer is, and then Bobby says, well, no, it's not. That kind of a thing. And it was a nice time filler. And there's a few things that we've done, but couples just haven't, when we've talked about having something, they're like, yeah, no, we just let it go. If the clink gets crazy, let it go. If there's a 5 minutes, we'll just veg.
Yeah.
We're all going to we're going to all pull out our cell phones and we're all going to play around a Pokemon. Well, that's,
I think what's really happening for a lot of them is kind of what we talked about. A lot of those special moments, a lot of those, special events are going by the wayside because they want, and we talked about this in prior shows, the idea that they want to just get to the dancing, right? They want to get to the dancing, and anything else other than that means it's not going to be a good party. And so I think there's somewhat in that. And then I think, John, you hit on it. Like, they're not being done as much because there for a while, a lot of those games or game type aspects were being overused. So it was like, okay, we want to get away from that because we've seen that a bunch of times. Now, nobody wants to do it because nobody sees it. And the thought is the sound of it is cheesy or whatever.
Yeah,
because they
true.
don't know how quality it can be or how it can be a great time filler for that moment that you actually need to throw something in. I think, if you address that with your couples also kind of in a different way of like, listen, here are some ideas that I want to throw out. Pick maybe one or two that you might want to do if we need to fill. Like rather than saying like, listen, we're going to do this, but rather if something happens and your caterer needs us to buy 10 minutes, which one of these would you like us to do for entertainment for your guests? Which one of these would be a good idea? And if we don't need it at all that night, we won't throw it in. But if we need it at some point, is there something on here that you might be like, that's actually kind of cool. I don't want to take away from my dancing, but if that's not an option, I would throw this in. You might also start to get some different responses with that, just because it's if we need it.
And that was actually the if we need it type of things. Cubby, you've done during that dinner time and cocktail time, but more probably during a dinner time, you have done some more crowd interaction with things. If you had that 10-minute time frame, what jumps out at something that would be a good filler that you've used in your, one of those arrows that are in your quiver type of thing?
I would probably use the Shillywed game. Just kind of really quick one, maybe 7-8 questions, really fast and kind of get through it. Other than that, I can't, there's other setups. I like the idea that you had with the trivia, polling the audience and then, see what the bride and groom would do, type thing. But yeah, I've done I would do the Shillywed game, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else would be set up because words of wisdom, you have to explain the game, tell them like during dinner, write down your, favorite words or, your words of wisdom for the bride and groom to read before the first dance type thing. But like you guys have said, it's been since COVID and with these new brides, they just want to get straight to dancing. And I've maybe 2 or 3 times last year, we do a lot of scavenger hunts,
mm-hmm.
a lot of scavenger hunts. And they're very high energy, just get the crowd jacked up and get a lot of good reviews on that.
Yeah, those are a fun activity. And until that one time you get somebody who's just a turd in a pool, that's part of it. And it's like, oh, this isn't very fun at all. Had that happen, unfortunately. Yeah, we got a few Facebook comments that are coming in. Thank you guys for being with, of course, and the comments there. We've got some coming in on Facebook. I can't see who's putting those up, so I apologize. But I've seen that there's people who are saying that Dan is right as always, and then there's people saying Dan is left field. What's that mean? I don't know. Oh no. Yeah, just. No, but they're talking about some of the things we were just talking about there, so we're good. We're all good. Oh, wow, I have closed captions on the video. That's interesting to watch us talk and then the words show up right there.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, yeah, when you use those big words, it doesn't show up. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about when it comes to the tables and dealing with tables. We're kind of progressing from that cocktail to the dinner time. Around here, buffets are a big thing, and many times it falls upon our shoulders. What have you guys seen? What have you done? What would you, if somebody's like, hey, I want to do something that's kind of fun, unique, or whatever, what have you guys seen that would kind of jump out and fit that category?
Gosh, I think it's my turn to start.
Yeah.
I think they've been mentioned kind of before, the bride and groom trivia dismiss tables, but in the consultation, like, look, don't have 20 tables. This only works with like a smaller wedding with maybe no more, because I'm not going to make the reserve tables play. They've already paid for it. So I say take your number of tables minus your reserves, because I'm not making your friends, and everybody else is open game. They can go to dinner first, second, last. Sing for your dinner, sing a song we're loving it. All things that have been mentioned previously. I'd love to hear if somebody's got something new or trending. And again, my bride and grooms are just kind of, let's get through dinner as fast as we can. And not much interaction. I think we've done kissing bowls too, like it's been mentioned before, but that's not for table dismissals.
Yeah, just some of the things there.
Yeah. I think this is new.
For the table dismissal, I've done because usually we're looking for a spot to start, and 90% of the time where you want to start, because the caterer said, okay, I want you to start here, and that's where you're going to go. But there's times where they're like, yeah, whatever you want to do. And it's like, okay, so then you can do, I've done something like, who's traveled the farthest tonight, and who's basically the most local person. And generally then people are like, oh, who's the most local person? Oh, he lives next door. Okay, great. And then who's traveled the longest? Because we're going to try to figure out who's going to be the first table to go. And then the person in the back's like, yes, I came from California. Great. Well, the person who is the closest will go. But, thanks for coming, and then it became a thing. So that has gone a couple of times. I've done the trivia question. The first table who could answer a trivia question correctly, they were the first table to go, and then we just worked out from there. Randy Bartlett had the dollar bill thing that he would use to give away centerpieces, where you'd pass the dollar around, you'd find that person, and I did a variation of that where the last person at the table who had the dollar, they basically all had to do something like guess a number between whatever, and the people who were the closest, or the table that was closest to the groom's number that he had in his head, won or whatever, and they went to that. We've tried some different things over the years. Personally, I've never really found anything that I've really liked in that time frame that has just been like, oh my God, this is the most fun. I want to do it every time. It's just one of those situations that I think many couples have it right with this one, is that let's just get it going, get through the dinner as quickly as possible, and anything beyond a welcome and it's great to see you and grandma, let's get the blessing going, is wasted time. Now, some people might have a really cool thing to do. I just haven't had anything that's really been memorable enough that I've like, yes, I'm going to do this every time.
The thing that I always struggled with the trivia and using something like that to get them up was the time that lapsed in between them and the next table, right? Like your first two tables, if you're doing buffet, first two tables coming up, like they're going to go pretty quick because like you're going to form that line. But then when you go to get to the third one or the fourth one, like depending upon how fast your caterer serves the buffet, or how fast the people go through that line, if it drags out like when you can do that question, so that extra piece that you're putting into that trivia really, I think, becomes the key. I've done there's been two things that I've done, one successfully and one fell flat on its face. But they were both very similar, and it was the idea of playing a song that was tied to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a couple who were big Disney fans, big Disney fans, to the point that they had their tables named after different movies. And then what I did was played the song, the most memorable song from that movie. And as soon as they heard their song, that was their cue to come up. And so what ended up happening was I was able to change songs when I looked at the buffet table and knew that I had the next one. I still remember telling the caterer, like, he was just like, so you're going to dismiss tables? And I was like, yeah, this is what we're doing. And he goes, oh, that's not going to work. And like just flat, like not even held back. Like that's not going to work. This is going to take forever to get through the line. I'm like, no. I'm going to, like, when we get to the next one, I'm watching your line. Like, I know when to fade and go into the next one. Trust me, like, it'll be okay. And he's like, I'm trusting you, but I don't think it's going to work. And afterwards, he came up and he apologized to me because it worked. It went over beautifully, because what I would do is I would play that song. And if a table didn't move, like if they were at that obscure, you know what I mean? That obscure Disney song that they threw in, like if the table didn't move, I'd be like, all right, you didn't know, but it was really XYZ, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then they got up and then they went. And I would just make sure that I was going to the next song. I tried it again. And part of the reason why the next one fell flat in his face was because the couple didn't follow through on really quite on their end. So what I had asked them to do was to pick songs, because they talked about how music was so important to them. And I was like, all right, give me a list of songs that you want me to use. And when that song plays, like, that'll be the cue, and we'll name your tables like by these songs. And the problem that I didn't follow through on my own end was to really make sure that I thought by telling them that they would have printed something up to put on the tables, and they didn't.
Oh,
So it was a matter of like me trying to tell the table, like, and I didn't do it over the mic, but I was like, hey, later on we're going to play this. And when you hear this song, this is your cue to go up. And yeah, by the time I went to start doing it, like the first table, they got it. By the second or third table, they're like, wait a minute.
What? Is that our song? Is that which one? Yeah.
And so it just fell flat. So if you decide to do the song release, if you want to call it, recognize you're going to be going through stuff as needed, which was nice, because if I needed it to go 2 minutes till the next table was great, and if that table was small, then I only needed a minute. Like I could control when that next piece was. But definitely have something printed out so that there's no question for the tables what they're listening for or what they're looking for.
Okay, that flashes me back to a Christmas cocktail activity with the Christmas party. I don't know if any of you in the chat or with us tonight. This was actually the first time I saw this was at one of our MAP DJ, our DJ conventions in Minneapolis. But we did the 12 Days of Christmas activity, and we would go and we would hand out. And this was basically just a fun thing during the dinner time. And we would go and hand out these lyrics for days 1 through 12, as far as everyone had the sheets hand out to the table of 8, and it would say your day 1, and your line is da-da-da-da-da. And they would hand out all those to the 12 tables, and if there were more tables, well, some tables just didn't get to play. And then it was a singing, that we're going to sing Serenade the Boss tonight, and we're going to be the management tonight, and we're going to start. And the whole premise behind it is that every time you get to who's got day 1, and they're over here, it's like, okay, when it's your day, you need to stand and sing as loud as you can. So you get the song playing, and you, as the DJ MC of it, is that you're out, and this is where slapstick comes in, because you're out there and you're very animated, pointing to and gesturing to, and it gets to be just a completely hilarious activity if done well. And you've got to have that level of silliness and that level of oh my God, is this ever going to end, as you get up there at 10 and then 11, I've been waiting for a Christmas wedding, to do that again, and I haven't. It's probably been 10 years since I've done that, but oh my, I've got some old really grainy video of when we did that, and it sounds very old, the video does. But the premise and the crowd response and the laughter, and you can hear that, and it's like, oh, anyway. It reminded me of the handing the sheets out and such, and doing that. So, okay, so when it comes to the dinner, what's the difference between the cocktail and dinner when it comes to your music programming? Are you running basically that same playlist, or do you switch playlists after people start eating? And how do you guys handle that?
I'll start, I guess. So I definitely go for different playlists, and part of the reason for it, if nothing else, is to create a separation. Right, we want to kind of create an overall vibe for the wedding, but I don't want to be in one genre for an hour of cocktail and an hour of dinner, and sometimes it's even a continuation of what the style that they wanted for the prelude, but in a different type of vibe, like acoustic. But now I want upbeat acoustic, and now I want talking acoustic, and I'm like, no, like let's pick something besides acoustic for the whole thing. But so I really try and get them to go let's go a different direction. Let's find something else that can fit. And I start out though in kind of a nice bridge, right? I bring it down a little bit. We've been high for a little bit. I bring it down because that's a good opportunity where we're dismissing tables, or people are eating, or they may be getting up to get a drink at the bar if it's still open, something like that. And then as we go through dinner, I bring that feeling and that tempo and that up to where if I got a couple really wanted to come out and do the dance floor by the end, they might be okay. It might be a little awkward because it's not quite that song, but you'd be surprised. Like I had one where it was more of a Motown type of feel, and they had a table for the photographer, myself. There's two photographers and myself to eat, and we were a separated room. Like I could hear the music, but I couldn't see what was going on. We came out to like 15 couples dancing on the floor. Now that one was a little unusual because I was not expecting it, and the music was there, but it was also this was one of those couples that really picked like dinner, like they picked the whole thing for me. But it was just like I came out and I was like, I guess we're starting the dancing now. So definitely, like I said, try and build that energy as I go. But I don't mix, but I do encourage a different style than what we've just had for cocktails.
Yeah, I'd concur with Dan. Same thing, just kind of cocktail, kind of upbeat, dinner, a little bit more subdued. After the toast, rise it, so kind of subliminally to get the little faster BPMs to get them ready to, and kind of a little bit of a prep to, same thing as you did with the 10 songs. I don't have the 10 songs. I like your idea with the 10 songs going into it.
And I found that I kind of relate that to, they've talked about different successful people, they figure out okay, this is what I'm going to wear. They wear the same thing every day, and they don't change it up because it works. And that's one less thing they have to think about. And I've kind of related that to that section of the night. I don't have to think about it. I just grab those 10 songs out of that folder and put them in, and then and I'm good to go. It's there. They're successful, and I don't have to think about it. And 99% of the time that none of those songs are going to be requested or are in the dance. But I think there was one time this year that was, but most of the time, yeah, not so much.
It's all Huey Lewis because we know it's not requested the rest of the night.
Yeah, well, it really was. But that's
by the
why.
way, Cubby, you need to start bringing a drink because we got to drink anytime that's not.
Yeah, we have.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
do we drink every time we say Huey Lewis or what?
Yeah,
that's
Huey Lewis and some software program that nobody needs to mention ever.
Yeah. Some people just don't know what's good when they see it. I'm just going to say it out loud. So transitioning from, we talked about, kind of bringing the tempo up a little bit and such. Is that during that transitioning time, do you do anything different with your look, whether it's a changing of your setup a little bit or changing of your personal look to go from the formal to maybe the less formal of a dance? Is that something that you do? Because I have seen people who've made some major changes on this, and it's not something I've ever done, but I thought, is this something that should be done?
After I get done with all my formal stuff and I'm getting ready to mix for the evening, I will take off my jacket and I locally, everybody knows I got that nickname Cubby because I was a mascot for the Cubs. I have a Cubs jersey that says DJ Cubby on the back with my number. And they know for all the years I've been doing this in my local area that what they're getting and who I was. And so it goes, I mean, if it was a Boston fan, they probably wouldn't like it as much, or a Cardinals fan or Twins, even yet and still, but it just frees up my arms, for my jacket. Especially in those summer weddings, it's not as hot, wearing a jacket full time. So yeah, when I get to the mixing portion of the evening, it just kind of frees me up and a little bit of low key, and I get a lot of high fives just by putting my jersey on.
Nice.
That's me. I don't know, right or wrong.
It's you, and I think that's the important thing. Dan, we'll get to. I think the important thing to think with this is that it's got to be you, and it's got to be your style, and I can't go and wear a baseball jersey like Cubby does because it's not me. I'm not a baseball fan. I'm not I'm not known for any of that. So if you guys are going to look for something, it's got to be you in order for it to work. So people know. Dan, what are your thoughts on that?
This is kind of embarrassing because I take my jacket off and I put a Pirates jersey on me, and if only. No, it's kind of funny. So I don't do anything different to my setup. The only thing that's different about my setup is so I have a 4-bar wash, a 4-bar try that I use for my dance floor lighting. I don't turn that on at all until I'm hitting that open dancing time. So the only lights that might be on that are mine before that would be if we're using up lights. The rest of the time, no lights. Okay. So that's the only thing that changes from there. For me, I do, just like Cubby said, I take my jacket off. Part of it is like, when I'm moving and stuff like that, I want to be able to kind of have my hands to do different things, and I don't want to feel restricted. I also, when I'm, even when I'm in a temperature controlled room, when I'm wearing my jacket and everything else, I just feel hot. And so I take that off just to kind of give myself that air to breathe. And also, like, depending upon where we're at and depending upon the venue, so if it's a barn venue or if it's a more relaxed venue, not only will the jacket come off, the sleeves will get rolled up and the tie will get loosened. Not sloppy, just enough to say, I'm cutting loose a little bit, right? Like just that little bit of an idea. Like I've actually had, like we talked about releasing tables and stuff. And when I'm helping with a couple, I've walked around, I still have my suit coat on. I still have my tie all up, and some other people have like taken their jacket off to eat dinner, and they're like, take that jacket off and bring the tie down a little bit. And I'm like, no, and then I go to do that and they're dancing. And like, I've had like guys, they'll come over, like, high five. Yeah. You finally ditched the tie a little bit. And it was like, okay, we're not going that far, but it gives me a little bit chance to just kind of breathe a little bit, give myself some air. And then I learned a while ago, this is when I worked at a hotel. Like I always used to just roll my sleeves like up to almost my elbows. Right. But when I worked at a hotel, the manager was very much like, listen, I understand if it gets warm, you can roll your sleeves up, but we only say roll it up twice. Like you roll once, you roll another time, and then that's it. I don't want to see it any higher than that. And so when I'm DJing, I'll only roll it up twice. So it's still formal, but it gives me that little extra air. So.
And I think professionally, when you start playing that dance music, no pictures are being taken at that point in time. Mm-hmm. So when you're out there hosting, you got your tie up, dismissing dinner, whatever. I think we should always look great. But then let's face it, nobody's taking a picture while we're mixing. So that's why I think it's easier to take stuff off. That's why I wait to do it, because I'm not going to be out there at all in any formal shot whatsoever. So I'm not worried about it.
And if we do any formalities, like occasionally, very rarely, do we have garter bouquet, that kind of stuff. And I do actually like a mini dance set before I do any of that kind of thing. So if I'm going out for any more formality stuff, the nice thing is it's a quick quick pull of the tie, and I'll throw the jacket on. I don't care about my sleeves at that point. I'll just throw the jacket on, and I'm right back to formal mode. And it's almost like that's the air that I take. Like, you get formal DJ, and then you get, or formal MC, and then you get party DJ. And it's, it's not quite to that extent, but it kind of gives that different look and different association for them with me. What about you, John? I'm curious now.
This is an area that has changed for me. Is at one time when my attire was a shirt shirt and a vest, that would stay on the whole night. There were times at the end of the night I had everything up just as tight, and I didn't think anything of it. It was comfortable and whatever. This past year, I started getting into. I've got some black T-shirts that are really some nice T-shirts. And after being more active and losing some weight and such, I can wear a more fitted T-shirt, and it looks decent. So that after I'm done with the formalities, and there's really, as Cubby mentioned, there's no pictures of me emceeing in a T-shirt. Then I've gone to that, and it's been more of the it's a black T-shirt. I'm wearing my the black slacks, and it just looks more relaxed. It looks more it looks younger, which is obviously a thing. Is 2 years ago I couldn't have pulled that look off because I would have looked I would have just not looked as good in that. But now it actually looks pretty decent for me, and I kind of took that from Michael. He's being a 20-year-old. He looks obviously very physically fit and things, and that's what he would basically do. Is he was wearing his shirt and tie, and then he would go and he would change into a really nice T-shirt that probably cost more than all of my shirts and ties together, type of thing. It's like, oh goodness gracious, where did you get? But it went well, and he would get some, the responses from were similar that, hey, you look good, but you've kind of become more of a part of the party instead of someone who looks like you're there just to supervise the party and slap somebody with a ruler if they get out of line, type of thing. So that's what I have gone to doing. Now, with that being said, there was just a couple of weddings where we were by the air conditioner, and I ended up putting my jacket on because it was just too cold. And it's like, I get to put my thin jacket on because I'm freezing.
Dan had the phrase of the night, though. Formal MC, party DJ.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I watched. There's a lot of I want to call them up and comers because the following that a lot of them have has been insane. But just to watch some of the different styles that are out there, like there are still DJs out there doing sequin outfits.
Oh yeah, for sure.
With ties and cummerbunds and all that kind of stuff. But the ones that are out there that are setting trends and stuff like that. The days of the ties and that kind of thing don't have to be there anymore. You can still look just as formal as what you think. And I know that's not the topic for tonight, but it's something to think about. If you're looking for a way to change your look because whatever, look to some of what they're doing, but try and find some footage of them that they've shared on their socials of in-event type of pictures. Like when they're dancing, what are they doing? Obviously they're not. Are they as teed up as they were before, or have they found a way to relax, to some other degree? And you could find some other ways to experiment to see your style. I wouldn't experiment at an event, but experiment with that outfit. When you look in the mirror, do you feel comfortable? Because if you don't, you're not going to feel comfortable in the moment with a bunch of people around either.
For sure. And of course, as you guys are kind of following the chat, and a lot of you can't see the Facebook chat, we've got a couple of folks in different Facebook rooms that we're chatting, and one was talking about having a lot of success using trivia for releasing tables, as an example. The idea, though, tonight is that there's a lot of different ways to handle that cocktail and dinner time. There isn't one right way, and even if you have a right way, it's probably going to be the wrong next week to a level because every crowd is a dynamic. Tonight is don't be afraid to try some things. Don't be afraid to put some things together in advance, but yet be flexible when you need to be able to make that time useful to bridge into that dance and have a successful event. So, gentlemen, I think we're about time to wrap up. Hang in with Howie is next. I'm going to put that into there, DJNTV.com/chill. You guys can pop out there. The rest of our sponsors, by the way, their links are down in the description of the videos. You can check them out. They are the ones that help bring these shows and such to you. So show them some love when you are in looking for gear or looking for speakers or looking, cases or tables or scrims. I just put in an order for some new speaker stands and scrims. Yeah, I've got a lot of gear videos you guys are going to be seeing here coming out in the next 2 weeks. Tomorrow is going to be how I hooked up a gig bar move with a DMX controlling system. which was a lot more was much more difficult than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, there will be some different videos hitting this week, so you guys can check those out on the YouTube channel. So, Dan, I think we need to wrap and go.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking time on your Monday night to join John, Cubby, and myself. Have yourself a great one, and we will see you next week.